Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another edition of the weekly Astro forecast. I'm laughing because I just had a complete malfunction. I have a very set schedule with how things are supposed to go, and it went completely left. All right. And so I had to restart the live. But I just have to say, it's Mercury retrograde shadow period in full effect. All right. We're not going to talk about that this week because that's definitely coming next week. But if you start noticing that things are malfunctioning, things are not operating the way that they should, blame Mercury because it's about that time. All right. So what's going on, everybody? It's your favorite astrologer, Mel, here at Divine Feminine Works, helping you unlock your divinity and discover your magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. All right. So if you love everything tarot, astrology, spirituality, manifestation, then this is definitely the channel for you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. And speaking of content, if you want even more of my beautiful face, you can check me out on Instagram. See, another malfunction. There we go. You can follow me on Instagram at Divine Feminine Works, where I've got loads of excellent daily content. Plus, I go live there every Thursday night, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for live readings by tarot sign. All right. So let's tell the good people over on Twitter that we are finally live, right? Wow. Everything is just malfunctioning today. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Let's try that again. There we go. I told you, Mercury retrograde is coming in heavy this year. All right. But again, we're definitely not talking about that today. All right. But there is an important topic that I'd like to talk to you guys about today. So today's Astro forecast is going to be a little different. Okay. So before I forget, this is the weekly Astro forecast for the week of August 29th through September 4th. Okay. And astrologically speaking, there isn't really much going on this week. It's actually a pretty light week in terms of the cosmic activity, but I got a heavy channeling today, which I am inclined to share with you guys. So I wanted to start off with that first. Okay. So if you watch, my regular lives, right? And if you pay attention to the astrology, last Saturday, Mars went into Gemini. Okay. This is a pretty big deal because Mars is going to remain in Gemini until March. Okay. So for 7 months, Mars is going to be in Gemini. Now, when I spoke about it in terms of the weekly Astro forecast, it was all about sort of starting a lot of new projects, having a lot of thoughts, your mind being scattered. And that's still very much the truth. But this message that I received, throughout this week has definitely let me know that there's such a deeper meaning to this, especially because Mars is going to be spending so much time in Gemini. I think there's a lot of deeper themes and issues that are going to be playing out. Okay. And so it's interesting, just to give you a little backstory when it comes to me. I don't know how other people channel messages, right? I'm not privy to how other people channel messages, but for me, it never really happens intentionally. Although there are times when I get messages while I'm meditating, for the most part, I will get messages at the most random times in the most random ways. I get a lot of messages through dreams. I'm clairaudient, so I hear a lot of things. And whenever spirit needs to communicate with me, they communicate with me loud and clear. And this is exactly what happened with this message. So I was literally sleeping. I was taking a nap and I was shook out of my sleep by this phrase. Okay. And being clairaudient, you hear spirit clear as day. The same way that you're able to hear me now is how I'm able to hear spirit. And spirit said to me this phrase. Spirit said, "Keep your eyes on your own paper." And I was like, what? First of all, it jostled me out of my sleep. So I was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm not even writing anything. I don't get it. But that meant that I had to sort of sit with that message for a bit, right? And so I'm sitting with it, and immediately I got this montage of my childhood. Nothing bad, nothing traumatic. It was just scenes from my childhood. And this montage was definitely the next step of this message to sort of demonstrate what spirit was trying to say. So, in elementary school, when you're taking a test, the teacher usually says, keep your eyes on your own paper to prevent cheating. Now, I wasn't being told this message because I was a cheater, but as a kid, a lot of people cheated off me. Okay. And it used to be a problem. Certain kids weren't allowed to sit next to me in class, especially when we were taking tests, because they would tend to cheat off me. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm a very intelligent person. I was a very smart kid. So people love to cheat off me because I usually did well on exams. And so I'm asking myself, I'm like, why is spirit telling me this? Okay. And it all boils down to this concept or this issue of competition. Okay. And this is very fitting with Mars and Gemini. Mars is the planet of war. It's also the planet of competition. And so when it comes to Mars and Gemini being a sign of relationship, right? Gemini is about communication. So it's about how we communicate with other people. It's how we think and how we act in relation to others. When you put Mars in this equation, how we feel about ourselves in relation to other people, how we compare ourselves to other people becomes a major theme and will be one of the major themes of this transit of Mars in Gemini, okay? So one of this montage that I'm seeing before my eyes, I was also heavily into sports as a kid. So I was a competitive swimmer, I played basketball, and I was on the track team. And basketball aside, because it doesn't necessarily fit into this analogy, when you are running a race or when you are swimming in a competition, right, you have to keep your eyes focused, right? You have to look straight ahead. You'll never see a competitive swimmer swimming and they're looking at the next lane. They're looking at the swimmer in the next lane or trying to figure out what the person 3 lanes down is doing, right? Same thing with track. When you're running track, you are eyes forward and you are just going straight ahead. You're not looking at what your competitors are doing. Obviously, you see them in your peripheral vision, but you don't consciously take your focus off what you're doing to look at other people. And so this is something that many of us don't realize that we're doing because we're not doing it in a competitive environment. Like we're not necessarily running a physical race against people, but a lot of what we do, we compare it to other people. And sometimes so much so that we take our eyes, our focus, and our energy and effort completely off what we're doing to notice what someone else is doing and to figure out how they're doing it. And we put all our energy into them and none into ourselves and into our own race, like whatever race we're running, whatever competition, whatever thing we're going for. We don't pay attention to what we're doing. We're constantly looking at everyone else. And I get this sense that this message is very poignant for this time right now, because I feel like this issue is going to play out for many of us in lots of different ways. One of the ways that I'm seeing it playing out is in business, right? Now, there's a difference between getting inspiration from people or sort of modeling how someone else is doing something so that we can replicate that same level of success, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like we've gotten to a point where many of us are just hyper focused on everyone else. It goes beyond just looking for inspiration. It lends itself to like copying. It lends itself to comparing ourselves in a way that's not healthy. And that's how we're going through life, right? And I feel like Mars and Gemini is going to bring this issue front and center, so that you can finally address it. Okay. So this transit is more, like I said before, it's more than just having a lot of ideas, wanting to start new projects. That's definitely a major part of it. But I think that the role that competition plays in our life is going to come front and center for us to make peace with it, right? And for us to sort of get on the right track and put our focus where it needs to be, which is on ourselves, which is so interesting because Mars is a planet of selfishness. Mars is a planet that focuses on the self. But when you put it in a sign like Gemini that focuses on others, that's where you start to get that competition, that competitive spirit, that focusing your thoughts and energy on what everyone else is doing. And I feel like that's definitely going to play out over until March, right? Because Mars is going to be in Gemini until March. The other thing that I heard was run your own race. And this sort of plays into what I was just saying before. And the way that I got this message was kind of interesting, right? Because I feel like sometimes the way that we venerate people, sometimes the way that we put people on a pedestal, again, it completely takes the focus off what we need to be doing for ourselves. We're looking at people as the prototype. We're looking at other people as the example, as the blueprint, rather than creating that blueprint ourselves. And again, it's sort of like giving your power and your energy away to others, right? Just think of it this way. Going back to my race example, right? Let's say you are running a race, a track race, right? And you're focusing on the other person. You know how hard it is to run forward with your head to the side? It obviously slows you down. So the more energy that you give that other person, the more you're feeding them. That energy feeds them. That energy fuels them. And then guess what? They are going right past you and winning, right? Because you're not focused on your own race. You're not focused on your own breathing, on your stamina, on your pace, right? You're focused on theirs. So what does that do? That just feeds them more. And that's why one of the things that bothers me the most is like celebrity worship. I feel like it's getting better in recent times, especially with the rise of influencers and stuff like that. But you're putting all of your energy, you're putting all of your thoughts into the lives and the activities of other people. A lot of times these people have no bearing on your life whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong. It's cool to see what celebrities are doing. And again, there's nothing wrong with getting inspiration from other people and learning from other people. I'm not saying that at all. But when you put other people on a pedestal and you take yourself off, you're doing yourself a very great disservice, right? And I feel like that's what Spirit meant by run your own race. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Focus on what you need to do for you, right? Keep your eyes on the prize and keep moving forward. And the last thing that I'm going to say, and the third part of this message, is run your race for you. Now, this message hit hard, okay? Because it made me realize that sometimes we have to question our own motives when it comes to the things that we do. While there are things that we definitely love and that we pursue for the pure passion of it, right? A lot of times we run races for other people, or we take on desires because other people want us to, or because everyone is doing it. I'll give you the perfect example. Going back to what I was talking about before, I used to be a competitive swimmer. And this was something that my father definitely pushed me into. Now, don't get me wrong. The benefits were great. The discipline that I learned, sports teaches you a lot about life in many different ways. So I will never undervalue what I learned from sports. But did I like swimming? Hell to the no. I hated it. When you're in a competitive sport that you don't like, it brings up a lot of anxiety, a lot of insecurity, and doing the activity doesn't make you feel better, it just makes you feel worse. And that's sort of how I felt. But, I had to keep doing it because my dad thought it was great. And, he was paying the bills. So I continued on with it, until I didn't want to anymore. But a lot of times we're running races for other people because it will make other people happy, because we see other people doing it. It makes sense because everyone is doing it. But meanwhile, you don't necessarily like it. You're not passionate about it. And one thing about Mars is passionate as fuck. If you don't like it, if you're not fired up for something, then don't do it. Right? Especially, this goes back to what I was saying before. Mars in Gemini is like wanting to start 1,000,001 things. But you have to ask yourself, why? Why do I want to do this? Am I doing it for me, or am I doing it because someone told me to, or because it'll make someone else happy, or I have an obligation to someone? So it's not just about starting new things. It's about asking yourself why you're starting them. What is your motivation behind taking this action to get this particular result? And if it doesn't align with your own passions, I really think it's time to reevaluate that and reevaluate what moves you're making. Because life is too short to be doing everything for everyone else. Life is too short to be focusing on what everyone else is doing and not putting effort and energy into your own things, your own creations. And I feel, again, that Mars in Gemini is really going to hammer this issue. It's really going to hit this issue hard over the next 7 months. So keep that in mind when you find yourself focusing on what everyone else is doing, or when you're questioning why you have this desire to begin with. The beautiful part of this energy, of this Mars and Gemini energy, is that I think that it's going to awaken some of our passions that may have been dormant or that we didn't even know existed, right? So you may find that you have this desire and you don't know where it comes from, but you just know that you're fired up about it and you're super psyched to sort of take it on and keep moving forward. And that's beautiful, right? But if you find that you're doing the same old thing for the same old people, for the same old reasons, and the fire has long been extinguished, maybe it's time to reevaluate those things. So that was the channeled message that I got, that I was implored to share with you all. So hopefully that means something to someone and that you guys take that moving forward over the next 7 months. Because again, Mars is going to be in Gemini for a while. So wherever Gemini is in your chart, you're gonna be feeling it. It's gonna put a battery in your back. All right. Okay. So now let's get into the week. Oh, Alan, what you talking about right now? Hitting the nail on the head. Already there since the new moon. Perfect. Right. Yeah. I felt like this message wasn't just for me. Right. I felt like there was a lot of people who were sort of feeling the same way, in one way, shape, or form. Right. I feel like all of us have, and some of us may have this energy or these issues when it comes to competition, period, right? Competition tends to bring out a lot of things. It can bring out your inner warrior. It could also bring out your wounded inner child, right? And I feel like over the next couple of months, those two things are going to be coming up a lot for many of us. Yeah, so it's Patricia Jean says, hey, I heard the malfunction. Yeah. Oh, see, look at the malfunction again. I meant to put up her comment. And yeah. Okay, there we go. Everything is malfunctioning today. But again, I'm blaming Mercury retrograde, which is soon approaching. So that's the story that I'm sticking to. But yeah, like I was saying before, I feel like competition and all of the emotions surrounding it are really going to come up for a lot of us. And that's a good thing, right? Because we're able to address those issues and we're able to make sense of them. And so we can move forward being in a better place. So if you find that the next couple of months make you feel uncomfortable, sort of lean into that uncomfortability and see where it's really coming from. Because I can almost guarantee it has to do something with competition on some level. Okay. All right. So now let's get into it. So let's see, where are we? All right, cool. So you guys know the deal. If you're new to astrology, or even if you started studying astrology and you need a refresher, I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which basically gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to learn astrology, right? So it covers the planets, the houses, the signs, and the aspects. It's an 11-page PDF document that gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know. All right. And so if you're interested in getting this document, the link is in the description box below. All you need to do is provide your email address and you are good to go. All right. So let's move into the week and see what we have. Yeah. Again, I pressed the button and it takes like 2 years. All right. So first we have what I like to call building momentum. So we have the waxing crescent moon. So we are fresh off the heels of the new moon in Virgo, which was yesterday. And so this week, the moon is going to be waxing. So it's going to be building up strength. It's going to be building up an illumination. So this is about being proactive about our goals. It's about taking those action steps towards everything that we would like to achieve. Okay. It's also about letting go of bad habits, particularly when the moon is going to be in Scorpio later this week. Scorpio is all about intensity, and it's all about repressed emotions, things that we'd rather not deal with, but they come up to the surface so that you can get rid of them. All right. So it may be quite an emotional week, especially midweek to the end of the week, but that's actually a good thing. All right. And then next we have what I call giant Jupiter, because Jupiter is playing a significant role in the astrology this week. Okay. So it's going to be sextile to Mars. And it's going to be opposite Mercury. And even when it's opposite Mercury, it's still very positive. So there's a lot of positivity that can come about this week, and things happening on a very grand scale, because Jupiter does things in a super huge way. Okay, so we definitely have that to look forward to. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. All right, so on Monday, we have the moon moving into Libra. And then on Wednesday, we have the moon moving into Scorpio. Thereafter, on Thursday, we have Mars sextile Jupiter. On Friday, we have Mercury opposite Jupiter with the moon in Sagittarius. And then on Sunday, we have the moon in Capricorn. So like I said, not much going on this week, which is nice because we're about to get into Mercury retrograde. By the time October rolls around, it's eclipse season. So this week is a nice sort of reprieve and a nice resting period for the chaos and the craziness. All right. So let's start off with Monday. On Monday, we have the moon moving into Libra. And if you notice at the left-hand side of your screen, the moon will also be conjunct Mercury. Okay. It's actually going to reach 3 degrees that same day. All right. So let's talk about it. So moon in Libra is very much about relationships. Okay. And this is sort of going to piggyback off of that Mars in Gemini energy. It's about creating order through pleasing interaction with others. Moon in Libra, what makes us feel good is relating to others, is talking to others, is feeling like we identify as part of a group maybe, or as part of a relationship of some sort, right? Moon in Libra is great for things like negotiating. It's great for things like communication, but it also lends itself to a bit of what? Hello? Are we still on? Please write in the comments if we're still on because I just got an error message that the stream stopped. It looks like I'm still live, but I'm actually not sure. Okay.